Okay, next slide.
We got plenty of examples of fruiting. I'm not worried about that. But
okay, so then it doesn't affect the fruiting process.
Yeah, absolutely. We again, most of the fruits and vegetables that we've tested this on are reporting between a 20 and 40% increase in yield. There are some crops like peppers and strawberries where we see 60, 70, 80, 100% increases in yield, and grapes seems to be our best crop. We routinely see 70 to 150% increases in yield on grapes. And ironically, the wine growers have told us they don't want anything to do with our technology because they're afraid that they're going to see a reduction in quality, which so far we haven't seen on the table side. So we're still working with a couple of wine growers to get their results, but so far we've had a couple of wine growers that said they have the best crop they've seen in years. So no worries there.
But that would be, I'm very surprised that the vineyard guys aren't paying attention, because if the table grape guys are getting result, that would show that the bricks are up, the flavors are there, the increase in yield, etc. It would not affect their end result. But hey, those guys can be a little crazy.
Well, those guys, they're just operating in fear because they have a very tightly controlled flavor profile and a very tightly controlled quality profile, and they don't want. They're very. I mean, when you do a trial with, I'm not going to say names, but one of the big growers that we're working with, for example, I mean, they have thousands of acres, but they're saying, okay, we're going to give you half of this 1 acre on this farm. It's just like, come on, you got 1,000 acres. Like, no, you have this half acre. If you show it here, then in 2 years, we'll give you this 2 acre plot. And if you do it there, I'm like, so what you're telling me is in 50 years, we'll have you as a complete customer. They're all like that. They're all so scared because they will not change their flavor profile unless it's a cheap, like a box wine or something. They don't care as much. But yeah, it's been a real challenge to get those guys to listen.
Yeah, I hear that. Sorry to interrupt, but these are questions that I know the audience is probably thinking about. So go ahead to your next slide.
So this is actually a test that I did in my backyard. Again, I like to garden and stuff. So I was growing wheatgrass because I was juicing at the time. So when we ran this, I noticed that I said, well, let me just do one with just the seeds and the same soil and everything else. And let me just water one with Kiminasi, right? And I just set them aside. And in 5 days, this was, I think, 6 days, I saw that the Kiminasi was 20%, 30% higher with a lot more leaves. And I was about ready to harvest it. I showed a picture to Frank, our CEO. And I said, yeah, I'm about to harvest. I want to see how they taste. He said, no, you can't eat this. I said, why? He said, you need to take this to a lab. So we cut all the wheatgrass, put them in separate bags. We sent them to a lab for nutrient analysis. And it turns out, and that's what you see here, 6 times more iron, 3 times more potassium, more phosphorus, there was another one, I can't remember what it was. I think more protein. It had a lot more nutrient density than the untreated wheatgrass. And the same thing with the sprouts that we ran too. So I was really impressed because the whole reason I was juicing is to get that infusion of vitamins and minerals, right, that you get from wheatgrass from juicing like that. And later on, I did test the crop, and it did taste a little bit sweeter and definitely more flavorful than the other untreated ones for sure.
Did you add any compost tea to that?
No, it was an organic. It was an organic like fertilizer or organic potting soil that you get from Home Depot. And I used it for both. I figured it had enough, and I actually got probably 6 or 7 crops out of that soil before it started to slow down. So I wasn't really worried about adding compost tea because they already had enough nutrients. When you're sprouting, the seeds have a lot of it anyway, so it doesn't necessarily need a ton because you're harvesting. You're not letting it go 30 or 40 days. You're harvesting in a week, so you don't necessarily need it as much. But I could definitely do that.
Because if you're getting increased mineral production, that is controlled by biological. So here again, I'm really starting to think that you are stimulating biology with this process. How can you not be with that
Well, I
experience?
mean, again, that exudase, those plants, especially wheatgrasses, is kind of a Swedish plant anyway. So it's that sugar exudase. When your photosynthesis is producing more of those glucose molecules, some of that is going to go back down into the soil through the roots because they're feeding that microbiology anyway. So we are definitely improving the microbial activity in that sense. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I again can't put my finger on it, but that kind of is leading me to believe that the hypothesis that is you are doing something to the biology is just it's haunting me, dude. So anyway, all right, keep going. Sorry.
Well, we've actually run, we thought that too, and we actually talked to a microbial vendor, and he said that he didn't see, we actually tested this directly on his compost tea as microbial tea for his liquid biological amendment. We just, without the plants there, and he said that there wasn't a significant difference. He said there were some differences, but he said he didn't notice any significant difference in microbial populations or anything with that experiment. And so again, I don't know. I mean, that was one guy with one experiment. So it's quite possible in that ecosystem with plants and microbiology together that we are directly stimulating it. I'm not sure. It may just be, again, that structuring of the soil and the improvement of photosynthesis combination is helping that.
Well, if you can't get blood out of a stone. So if you're getting increased minerals and nutrients, there's more to it than just the fact that you're increasing the structure of the soil. But again, we're definitely going to be in touch. You know that on other projects. So we'll get to the end of that. We'll get to the bottom of that at some point in the future.
Sure.
Yeah. So all right.